3 million going once. Cecilia Monroe couldn't feel her legs. The spotlight above the velvet stage burned white hot, turning her vision into swimming stars. Below, 50 masked men watched her like wolves deciding which part to bite first. Her white silk dress, too thin, too revealing, clung to her trembling body. YouTube's algorithm is unpredictable. If you don't hit the subscribe button right now, you might never see our stories again. We can't let that happen because this community survives because of you. Grab your popcorn and let's dive in. Going twice. Her wrists burned where the golden ropes bound them. She'd stopped pulling an hour ago when the guards had made it clear. Struggle meant pain. A man in the front row stood. Tall, black suit. No mask yet. He walked toward the stage with slow, deliberate steps that made every person in the room go silent. Sold. Lot 47 to bidder 33 for $3 million. The man climbed the stairs. Each footfall echoed like a gunshot. He stopped 3 feet from Cecilia, close enough that she could smell expensive cologne and something darker underneath. Gunpowder, maybe. Or blood. Then he reached up and removed his mask. Cecilia's heart stopped. No, not him. Anyone but him. Hello, Cecilia. Nikolai Bratwurst's voice was exactly as she remembered, deep, controlled Russian accent wrapping around every word like silk hiding a blade. Surprised to see me? Her knees buckled. He caught her before she hit the ground, his hands iron firm on her arms, holding her upright when everything inside her wanted to collapse and never get up again. This wasn't possible. This wasn't real. Nikolai Bratwurst, the man she'd left standing at the altar 3 years ago, the Pakhan of the Bratwurst Bratva, the most dangerous man in New York, the only man she'd ever loved. And now he owned her. Please, she whispered, the word breaking in her throat. Please what? His gray-blue eyes searched her face with an intensity that felt like being flayed alive. Please let you go? Please forgive you? Please pretend you didn't destroy me? Nikolai, You ran. His voice dropped to something cold and deadly. 3 years ago, our wedding day, 200 people in that church. You looked me in the eyes, said you needed 5 minutes, and disappeared. No explanation. No goodbye. You just vanished. Tears burned down her cheeks. I had to. Had to? Something dangerous flickered in his expression. You had to humiliate me in front of every Bratva family on the East Coast? You had to make me look weak? That wasn't... I searched for you. His grip tightened. For 2 years, I tore this city apart looking for you. Paid every informant, threatened every contact, and you hid so well I thought you were dead. I wanted you to think that. His jaw clenched hard enough she heard teeth grind. Why? She couldn't answer. The truth would get them both killed. Nikolai stared at her for a long, terrible moment. Then he gestured sharply to the guards. Uncuff her. They obeyed instantly. The golden ropes fell away, leaving red marks on her wrists. Cecilia rubbed the raw skin, mind racing. She had to think, had to find a way out of this. But her thoughts kept shattering against the impossible reality. Nikolai bought her. At an illegal auction. He'd paid $3 million for 5 years of her life, her father's debt. The one the collectors had explained when they'd shoved documents across her kitchen table 72 hours ago. The one that came due when her father's heart gave out. Except now she understood. Her father hadn't died of natural causes. Someone had killed him. And the debt was the trap that delivered her here. To Nikolai. You belong to me now, he said quietly, each word precise as a knife cut. Legally purchased. Contract signed. Your father's debt transferred to you, and you to me. He stepped closer, invading her space, making the air feel too thin. You ran from me once, Cecilia. Try it again, I dare you. Her throat closed around a scream she couldn't release. "Where are you taking me?" The question came out broken. His smile had no warmth in it. Nothing like the smiles she remembered from before, when he'd looked at her like she was the only thing that mattered in his brutal world. "Home," Nikolai said. "Our home. The penthouse on Park Avenue. The one you were supposed to move into 3 years ago when you became my wife. The one that's been waiting for you ever since." He took her arm. Not rough, but not gentle either. His fingers wrapped around her elbow like a handcuff made of flesh and bone, and pulled her toward the stairs. "Wait!" Cecilia gasped, planting her bare feet on the velvet. "Nikolai, wait. You don't understand." "I understand perfectly." He kept walking, forcing her to stumble after him or be dragged. "You left me, you broke me, you made me weak, and now you're going to fix it." "I can't." "You will." They reached the bottom of the stage. Masked men parted like water as Nikolai pulled her through the crowd. Nobody stopped him. Nobody dared. "Your father owed the Bratva $3 million. I've paid that debt. Which means you owe me, and I always collect what I'm owed." The exit doors burst open at his approach. Guards held them wide. Cold November air slammed into Cecilia's face as Nikolai dragged her into an underground parking garage. A black SUV waited, engine running, rear door already open. "Get in," he ordered. "Nikolai, please. Just listen." "I've listened enough." He pushed her toward the vehicle, not violent but utterly immovable. 3 years I listened to silence. 3 years I listened to lies from people who swore they didn't know where you went. 3 years I listened to my own pathetic heart hoping you'd come back. Cecilia grabbed the doorframe, trying to buy one more second. "My father is dead." Nikolai's expression went flat. "Heart attack. Very sudden. Very convenient. Timing considering his debt came due the same week." Ice flooded her veins. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying your father didn't die naturally." He leaned in close, his breath warm against her ear. "He was murdered, Cecilia. And you're going to help me find out who, because the same people who killed him are the ones who put you on that auction block. And they made one critical mistake." "What mistake?" she whispered. His hand came up to cup her jaw, forcing her to meet his eyes. "They gave you to me, and what's mine stays mine. Forever." He guided her into the SUV with a hand on her head, protecting her from the doorframe even as he imprisoned her. The door slammed shut. Through the tinted window, Cecilia watched the auction building disappear as the SUV pulled into New York traffic. Beside her, Nikolai stared straight ahead, his profile carved from ice. She'd spent 3 years running from him. Now she was trapped with him. And the worst part, the part that made her want to scream, was that somewhere beneath the terror, beneath the shock, beneath the impossible nightmare of this moment, a traitorous part of her heart whispered, "You never stopped loving him, and he never stopped hunting you. This was always going to end one way, with her in his hands, exactly where she'd always belonged." The penthouse hadn't changed. Cecilia stood frozen in the marble entryway, her bare feet cold against the polished floor, staring at the space that should have been hers 3 years ago. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked Central Park, the city lights glittering like diamonds scattered across black velvet. Everything was exactly as she remembered. The cream leather furniture, the abstract art on the walls, the grand piano in the corner that Nikolai had bought because she'd mentioned once that she'd always wanted to learn. "Come." Nikolai's hand pressed against her lower back, propelling her forward. She walked because she had no choice, through the living room, down the hallway lined with photographs she didn't dare look at too closely. Her heart hammered so hard she thought it might crack her ribs. He stopped at a closed door, put his hand on the handle. "This was going to be your room," he said quietly. "Before we married. Your space. I wanted you to feel safe here." "Nikolai." He opened the door. Cecilia's breath caught. The room was exactly as they designed it together. Pale blue walls, white furniture, books lining the shelves, Russian literature, American classics, everything she'd loved. And there, hanging in the open closet, preserved behind clear plastic, her wedding dress, the one she'd left behind in the church dressing room. "You kept it," she whispered. "I kept everything." Nikolai moved past her into the room, running his fingers along the dress's lace sleeve. "The flowers died after 3 days. I watched them wilt. But this I preserved, because I was certain, absolutely certain, that you'd come back, that you'd explain, that there was a reason." His voice cracked on the last word. Cecilia's throat closed. "There was a reason? Then tell me." He spun to face her, and for the first time since the auction, she saw past the cold fury to the raw pain underneath. 3 years, Cecilia. 3 years of wondering what I did wrong, what I said wrong. How I failed you so completely that you'd rather disappear than marry me. You didn't fail me. Then what? He crossed the space between them in 2 strides, grabbing her shoulders, not hard enough to hurt, but desperate enough that she felt the tremor in his hands. "What was so terrible that you couldn't tell me? That you couldn't give me even one word of explanation?" She looked into his gray-blue eyes and saw everything she'd lost, everything she'd destroyed. And she wanted so badly to tell him the truth, to explain that she'd discovered his father had ordered the massacre of the Petrov family, women and children included, and that she couldn't walk into a church and promise forever to a man whose family murdered innocents. But if she told him that, he'd know her father had been the informant, the one feeding information to the FBI, and that would sign her father's death warrant retroactively, destroy his memory, make his sacrifice worthless. So she said nothing. Nikolai's hands dropped. "You're going to keep lying to me." "I'm not lying. Omission is lying." He stepped back, and the cold mask slid back over his features, hiding the hurt. "Fine. Then let me be clear about your situation. You owe me $3 million. The contract you signed. I didn't sign anything. Your father did. In your name. Legal power of attorney. He used you as collateral, Cecilia." Nikolai pulled papers from his inside jacket pocket, unfolded them. "Right here. Your name. Your signature. Forged? Yes. But legally binding under Bratva law." She stared at the documents, her father's shaky handwriting making her stomach turn. He wouldn't. He was desperate. Men in debt do desperate things. Nikolai's jaw tightened. "The contract states you'll work for me until the debt is repaid. You'll live here. You won't leave without permission. You'll translate for my business meetings. Your Russian is excellent, I remember. You'll attend events at my side. You'll be available whenever I require your presence. You're making me your prisoner. I'm making you my employee." His eyes held hers. "There's a difference. You have your own room, your own space. I won't touch you, won't force anything. But you will obey me. Because the alternative..." He leaned in close. "The alternative is, I return you to the auction house and let someone else buy you. Someone who won't care about your comfort, or your safety, or the fact that you used to be the only thing I loved in this world." "Used to be." The words hit like a slap. "How long?" Cecilia's voice barely worked. "Your debt? Plus interest? Plus the cost of maintaining you? At current rates?" Nikolai calculated mentally. 5 years. Maybe 6 if you're difficult. 6 years. She repeated numbly. Or... He moved closer again, backing her against the wall beside her wedding dress. "You could tell me the truth. Right now. Why you left. The real reason. And depending on what that truth is, I might consider adjusting the terms." His hand came up to rest on the wall beside her head, caging her in. This close, she could see the faint scar on his jaw from a fight when he was 17. could smell his cologne mixing with something uniquely him, could feel the heat radiating off his body. "I can't," she whispered. "Can't or won't. Does it matter?" "Yes." His other hand came up to cup her face, thumb brushing her cheekbone with devastating gentleness. "Because can't means you're protecting something. Someone. And that means there's still hope you might trust me again someday." Tears burned her eyes. "Nikolai." His phone rang. He pulled back immediately, fishing it from his pocket. Glanced at the screen. His expression hardened. "Stay here," he ordered, already moving toward the door. "Don't leave this room. I have guards posted in the hallway. They will stop you. Gently, if possible." "Who is it?" Cecilia asked. He paused in the doorway. "Someone who wants to know why I just spent $3 million at an illegal auction." His smile was dangerous. "My uncle. The man who really runs the Bratwurst Bratva. The man my father left in charge before he died." Ice flooded her veins. "Your uncle?" "Victor Bratwurst. You never met him. He was in Russia during our engagement. But he's back now. And he has questions." Nikolai's eyes locked on hers. "Questions I need you to help me answer. Because your father's debt? Victor arranged it. Your father's death? Victor was there. And this auction? Victor told me about it. Sent me the invitation personally." Cecilia's world tilted. "Why would he do that?" "That's what we're going to find out." He pulled the door closed. The lock clicked. She was alone, with her wedding dress hanging behind her like a ghost, and the horrible realization settling in her chest like lead. Her father hadn't died of a heart attack. He'd been murdered, and the man who killed him had just delivered her straight into Nikolai's hands. But why? Cecilia moved to the window, looking out at New York's glittering skyline. Somewhere out there, someone was playing a game with their lives. Using her as a piece. Using Nikolai as a pawn. And she had no idea what the endgame was. She pressed her forehead against the cold glass. 3 years ago, she'd run to protect Nikolai from the truth. Now they were both trapped in something darker than either of them understood. And the only way out was through. Together. Whether they wanted to be or not. Cecilia didn't sleep. She sat on the edge of the bed watching the city lights blur through her tears until dawn painted the sky gray. Sometime around 6 a.m. a knock came at the door. "Miss Monroe." A woman's voice, accented. "I have clothes for you. Breakfast will be ready in 30 minutes. The door unlocked. A woman in her 50s entered carrying garment bags, her eyes kind but careful. She didn't ask questions, just laid out black pants, a cream silk blouse, undergarments still in packaging. "Mr. Bratwurst requests your presence in his office at 7, she said. "I'm Vera. I manage the household. If you need anything, ask me." Then she left, locking the door again. Cecilia showered in the attached bathroom, scrubbing the auction's touch from her skin until it turned red. She dressed in the expensive clothes that fit perfectly. He'd remembered her size, and braided her natural hair into a crown, the style her mother used to do before she died. Armor. She needed armor. At 7 exactly, a guard knocked. Young, Russian, built like a tank. He escorted her through the penthouse to a door at the end of the opposite hallway. Nikolai's office. The guard opened it and gestured her inside. Nikolai sat behind a massive desk, laptop open, phone pressed to his ear, speaking rapid Russian. He looked up when she entered. His eyes tracked over her appearance, something unreadable flickering across his face before he returned to his call. "Da. Poniatno. Stelieta." "Yes. Understood. Do it." He hung up. Silence stretched between them. "Sit," he finally said, gesturing to the chair across from his desk. Cecilia sat, keeping her spine straight, her hands folded in her lap. Nikolai studied her with those gray-blue eyes that saw too much. You look like you're going to a funeral. Feels appropriate. His lips twitched. Almost a smile. Almost. I spoke with Victor last night. He was very interested to hear I'd acquired you. What did you tell him? That I bought you to settle old business. That you owe me an explanation and 5 years of service seems a fair trade. He leaned back in his chair. He laughed. Said I was being sentimental. Weak. Are you? Sentimental? Yes. Weak? His eyes hardened. We'll see. He opened a drawer and pulled out a folder. Slid it across the desk. Cecilia opened it. Inside were photographs. Her father. Leaving buildings she didn't recognize. Meeting with men in suits. Timestamps in the corners. Dates going back 5 years. Your father was FBI, Nikolai said quietly. The room tilted. What? Informant. Working under the alias Blackbird, he fed information about Bratva operations to a federal task force for 3 years. Nikolai's voice was carefully neutral, including information about my family. You're lying. But her voice shook. I wish I was. He pulled out more photos. Her father shaking hands with a man whose badge was visible. I didn't know until 2 days ago. Victor gave me these. Said your father was the reason the FBI raided our shipping operation last year. Cost us $20 million and 4 good men who went to prison. Cecilia couldn't breathe. My father would never... He did it to protect you. Nikolai cut her off. The reports say he started cooperating right after we got engaged. Right after you became connected to my family. He was terrified you'd get caught in our world. So he made a deal. Information in exchange for immunity. For both of you. No. Tears burned her eyes. No, he wouldn't risk that. It would get him killed. It did get him killed. Nikolai's jaw tightened. Victor found out. Had him eliminated. Made it look like a heart attack. Then created the debt to force you into the auction. Why? The word came out broken. Why would Victor do that? Because your father discovered something bigger. Nikolai stood, moving to the window, his back to her. Something about my family's business. Something Victor doesn't want exposed. And he thinks you know what it is. I don't know anything. That's what I told him. Nikolai turned back to face her. But he doesn't believe me. He thinks your father told you. Passed information before he died. And he wants it. Badly enough to orchestrate this entire situation. Cecilia's mind raced. Her father's last words to her. 3 days before he died. Sitting at her kitchen table, looking older than she'd ever seen him. If anything happens to me, check the safety deposit box. Keys in my desk. 3rd drawer. Remember Blackbird. She'd thought he was being paranoid. Dramatic. His health had been declining. She'd thought he meant his will, his life insurance, not this. There's a safety deposit box, she heard herself say. He mentioned it. I never checked. Nikolai's eyes sharpened. Where? Chase Bank, Midtown branch. She met his gaze. I have no idea what's in it. But Victor thinks you do. Nikolai moved back to his desk, already pulling out his phone. Which means we need to get there before he does. Because if he finds it first and there's evidence against him. He stopped. Looked at her. He'll kill us both. You for knowing. Me for being in the way. You're his nephew. I'm also his competition. Nikolai's smile was bitter. My father left me control of the American operations when he died. Victor was supposed to stay in Russia. But he came back. Started consolidating power. He wants what's mine, Cecilia. The business. The territory. Everything. And I'm leverage. You're the key to whatever your father found, and the excuse Victor needs to prove I'm unfit to lead. He'll say I'm compromised, weak. that I let sentiment cloud my judgment by buying you. He came around the desk. So here's what's going to happen. We're going to that bank. Together. We're going to find out what your father left. And then, we're going to decide what to do with it. We. Cecilia stood. You want my help? I want us both to survive. He moved closer, close enough she had to tilt her head back to meet his eyes. Victor set this trap. Put us in this position. Used your father's death and your debt to force my hand. Well, he succeeded. You're here. I bought you. And now we're going to find out why he wanted that so badly. You said I was your prisoner. I said you owed me. His hand came up, fingers tilting her chin. But if Victor's playing the game I think he is, then we're both prisoners. Just in different cages. So we can fight each other and die. Or we can work together and maybe, just maybe, survive. You're asking me to trust you. I'm asking you to be smart. He dropped his hand. Your father trusted the FBI. Look where that got him. I'm not saying trust me. I'm saying use me. Use my resources. My power. Because alone, you have nothing. Victor will take you. Torture you for information. Kill you when you can't give him what he wants. But with me, you have protection. A chance. Cecilia stared at him. At this man she'd loved. Left. Destroyed. Who now held her life in his hands. What do you get out of this? She asked. The truth. His voice went quiet. Dangerous. About why you left me, because it's connected to all of this. I know it is. Your father found something 3 years ago. Something that made him cooperate with the FBI. Something that made you run from our wedding. And I'm going to find out what. She wanted to deny it. To lie. But he saw through her. He always had. When do we leave? She asked instead. Now. He moved to the door. Vera packed you proper clothes. Shoes. We'll take the back exit. Victor has men watching the building, but they won't expect us to move this fast. And if he catches us? Nikolai looked back at her, and for the first time since the auction, she saw something other than cold fury in his eyes. Fear. Then you'll find out exactly how far I'll go to keep what's mine, he said, even if what's mine hates me. He opened the door. Cecilia followed him into the hallway, her heart hammering, her mind spinning. 3 years ago she'd run from him to protect him. Now she was running with him to survive. And somewhere in this city, in a safety deposit box, her father's secrets waited. Secrets that had gotten him killed. Secrets that might kill them both. But also, maybe, secrets that would finally give her the truth she'd been too afraid to seek. The truth about the Bratwurst family. And the massacre that had destroyed everything. If you are still here, hit that subscribe button right now because things are about to get more interesting. The safety deposit box was small. Cecilia stared at it across the private viewing room table, her hands shaking. Nikolai stood behind her, close enough she felt his presence like heat at her back. The bank manager had left them alone 3 minutes ago after Nikolai had handed him enough cash to ensure his silence and his absence. Open it, Nikolai said quietly. She reached for the metal box, lifted the lid. Inside, a flash drive, a leather journal, and a photograph. Cecilia picked up the photograph first. Her breath stopped. It showed her father standing beside a younger Nikolai's father, Nikolai Bratwurst, both smiling at a construction site. The date stamp read 15 years ago, before the Bratva, before everything. They knew each other, she whispered. Nikolai took the photo from her trembling fingers. His jaw went rigid. My father hired your father, when we first came to America. Your father did our accounting. He was legitimate then. We both were. What happened? My father got ambitious, started taking contracts from the wrong people. Within 5 years, we were Bratva. He set the photo down. Your father tried to leave. My father wouldn't let him. Said he knew too much. So your father stayed. Kept our books. Watched us become monsters. Cecilia opened the journal with shaking hands. Her father's handwriting filled every page. Dates, names, transactions. And near the end, a section labeled, The Petrov Massacre. Her vision blurred. Read it, Nikolai said, his voice tight. She read aloud, barely breathing. March 15th, 3 years ago. Dmitri gave the order. Victor arranged it. The Petrov family, mother, father, 2 children ages 6 and 9, eliminated for refusing to surrender territory. Victor personally supervised. Made it look like a gas leak. No survivors. The room went silent. Keep reading. Nikolai's voice was dead. Dmitri showed remorse after. Drinking heavily. Victor pushed for more aggressive expansion, tension building between them. Dmitri wanted out. Victor wanted control. Her voice broke. April 2nd. Dmitri died. Officially ruled heart attack. I don't believe it. Victor was there. Victor benefited. Victor took control while Nikolai was... She stopped. While I was what? Nikolai asked. She looked up at him. While you were planning our wedding, your father died 2 weeks before we were supposed to marry. You were grieving, distracted. Victor stepped in as temporary Pakhan. You were too broken to fight him. Nikolai's hands clenched into fists. My father was murdered. Yes. Cecilia turned pages. Your father was going to confess everything to the FBI. Make a deal. Get immunity for you. Leave the Bratva. He told my father the night before he died. They were going to do it together. Disappear. Take us with them. Start over. And Victor found out. Victor's been in control ever since. Using your name, your authority. But making all the decisions. You're the Pakhan in title only. She found the last entry. My father wrote this the day before he died. Victor knows I helped Dmitri. Knows I was going to testify. He's coming for me. I've hidden the evidence. Key locations marked in code. If anything happens, Cecilia must give this to Agent Martinez, FBI task force. She must tell Nikolai the truth. He deserves to know his father tried to save him. Cecilia's hands shook so badly the journal fell. Nikolai caught it. Read the final pages, his face going white. My father wanted out, he said. And Victor killed him for it. And killed mine for helping him. Cecilia stood on weak legs. 3 years. 3 years I kept this secret because I thought I was protecting you from your father's sins. But it wasn't your father. It was Victor. And you never knew. Nikolai looked at her with something raw and broken in his eyes. Why didn't you tell me? Because my father made me promise. Tears streamed down her face. He said if I told you before we married, you'd confront Victor. Try to avenge your father. Get yourself killed. He said to wait. To get you away from the Bratva first. To marry you and convince you to leave with me. Start somewhere new. So you ran. So I ran because Victor found out we were planning to leave. He came to me the morning of the wedding. Showed me photos of the Petrov children. Dead. Said if I married you, if I tried to take you away from the family, he'd make sure everyone we loved died the same way. My father, your cousins, anyone. Her voice broke. He said if I disappeared, if I made you hate me, you'd stay. You'd be so angry you'd throw yourself into the business, become the Pakhan he needed, and everyone would live. You left me to save me. I left you because I had no choice. She was shouting now, 3 years of pain ripping out of her. I loved you. I loved you so much I walked away from everything. Our future, our life, you. Because the alternative was watching Victor murder everyone in our path. Nikolai stared at her. And your father? Victor killed him anyway, 2 months ago. When he found out about the journal, about the flash drive, so he created the debt. Set the auction. Made sure you'd be there. Made sure you'd buy me. She grabbed his arms. Don't you see? This was always his plan. Get me close to you again. Make you vulnerable. Wait for the moment we found this evidence. And then... The door exploded open. Victor Bratwurst stood in the doorway, flanked by 6 armed men, smiling like a wolf that had just cornered its prey. Then eliminate you both, Victor finished. Very good, Cecilia. You're smarter than your father. He never saw it coming either. Nikolai moved instantly, putting himself between Cecilia and the guns. Uncle. Nephew. Victor stepped inside, his men fanning out. I have to admit, I didn't think you'd figure it out this quickly. I gave you credit for intelligence, but not speed. My mistake. You killed my father. I freed him. Victor's expression didn't change. Your father was weak, sentimental, ready to throw away generations of work for what? Morality? Please, the Bratva doesn't have room for conscience. So you murdered him? So I did what was necessary? Victor's eyes shifted to Cecilia. And when her father became a problem, I did it again. And now, unfortunately, I have to do it a 3rd time. 4th time, actually. You're both liabilities. Nikolai's hand moved to his jacket. Victor's men raised their weapons. Don't, Victor said softly. You're fast, Nikolai, but not faster than 6 bullets. And I'd hate to kill you in front of your bride. So anticlimactic. You won't kill me, Nikolai said. The family won't. Accept it. I'm Dmitri's son. Legitimate heir. You're a lovesick fool who just spent $3 million on a woman at an illegal auction. Victor smiled. The family already thinks you're weak. Compromised. When they find your bodies, tragic murder-suicide, grief-stricken reunion gone wrong, they'll accept my permanent leadership without question. The journal, Cecilia said. The evidence will disappear with you. Victor gestured. 2 of his men moved forward. Take them. The warehouse on the docks. Make it quick, but make it look passionate. Star-crossed lovers, reunited in death. The Bratva loves a good tragedy. The men grabbed Cecilia's arms. She screamed. Nikolai lunged. A gun cracked. Nikolai staggered. Blood bloomed across his shoulder. He went down hard. Nikolai! Cecilia fought against the hands holding her, kicking, clawing, desperate. No, let me go. Victor crouched beside Nikolai, who was clutching his shoulder, blood seeping between his fingers. I'm sorry it ended this way. Truly. You could have been great. If you'd just forgotten her. Moved on. But you couldn't. Love made you weak. Just like your father. He stood, nodded to his men. Bring them both. Clean this up. Pay the manager double what Nikolai did. He never saw us. They dragged Cecilia toward the door. She fought every step, screaming Nikolai's name. Behind her, 2 men hauled Nikolai to his feet, his blood leaving a trail on the polished floor. Victor paused at the door, looked back at them. For what it's worth, I did like you both. But business is business, and the Bratva doesn't forgive weakness. He walked out. They followed, dragging Cecilia and the bleeding Nikolai into a service elevator, down to a garage where black SUVs waited. Cecilia's mind raced. The flash drive was still in the safety deposit box. The journal was on the floor. The evidence. Victor had everything. They had nothing, except each other. And approximately 30 minutes left to live. The warehouse smelled like oil and death. Cecilia's hands were zip-tied behind her back, her shoulders screaming. Nikolai knelt beside her, blood still seeping through his shirt, his face pale but his eyes alert. Victor's men stood in a circle around them, guns drawn, waiting for the order. Victor checked his watch. 5 minutes. Make it look good. Crime of passion, murder-suicide. You know the drill. Wait. Nikolai's voice cut through the warehouse. You won't kill us? Victor raised an eyebrow. Won't I? Not without the flash drive. Nikolai smiled, and despite the blood loss, despite the guns, he looked dangerous. The one that was in the safety deposit box. The one you don't have. Victor's expression flickered. We searched you both. Because you assumed we took it. Nikolai's smile widened. We didn't. I sent Vera to the bank an hour before we arrived. She emptied the box. Took everything to Agent Martinez, FBI. Your name is already on their warrant list. You're blowing a bluff. Am I? Nikolai tilted his head. Check your phone. I think you'll find several missed calls from your lawyers. The FBI raided your office 20 minutes ago. They're freezing your accounts right now. Victor pulled out his phone. His face went white, then red. You little... I had 3 years to figure out who killed my father, Nikolai continued, voice deadly calm. 3 years of watching you, waiting, building a case. Your mistake was bringing Cecilia back. Because the moment I saw her on that stage, I knew. Knew you'd orchestrated everything. Knew you'd lead me right to the evidence. So thank you, Uncle. You did exactly what I needed. Victor's hand shook with rage. I'll kill you both anyway. And spend life in prison? The FBI knows we're here. I've been transmitting audio this entire time. Nikolai nodded to his watch. That's not a Rolex. It's a wire. Every word you've said, every confession, they have it all. Sirens wailed in the distance. Victor's men shifted nervously. Shoot them! Victor screamed. Now! The warehouse doors exploded inward. FBI agents poured through, weapons raised, tactical gear, voices shouting commands in English and Russian. Victor's men dropped their guns instantly, hands up. Smart. They knew when they were beaten. Victor reached for his weapon. Agent Martinez, a woman in her 40s with steel in her eyes, put 3 red laser dots on his chest. Don't. Victor froze. Victor Bratwurst, Martinez said, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit murder, racketeering, and about 40 other charges I'll read you later. On your knees. Now. Victor went down slowly, murder in his eyes. Martinez moved to Cecilia and Nikolai. You both all right? He needs a hospital, Cecilia said. He's been shot. Ambulance is outside. Martinez cut their zip ties. You played this perfectly, Mr. Bratwurst. Your father would be proud. Nikolai swayed, his skin gray. Cecilia caught him, taking his weight, and together they stumbled toward the warehouse exit. Outside, red and blue lights painted the night. Paramedics rushed forward. They tried to separate Cecilia from Nikolai, but he grabbed her hand, wouldn't let go. She stays, he growled. She stays with me. They loaded him into the ambulance together. Cecilia sat beside the gurney as they worked, his hand still gripping hers like a lifeline. You planned this, she said. All of it. Not all of it. I didn't plan on falling apart when I saw you on that stage. His eyes met hers. I meant to be cold, controlled, use you to draw Victor out. But the moment I looked at you, 3 years disappeared. And I wanted to kill everyone in that room for looking at you like property. You bought me anyway. To save you. Victor would have sent someone else. Someone worse. He winced as a paramedic adjusted the IV. I've been working with the FBI for 6 months, ever since I found evidence my father was murdered. Your father's contact information was in my father's private files. I reached out to Martinez. She told me about Blackbird, about the journal. We've been building the case together. The auction? I knew Victor would use your father's debt to trap you, so I made sure I'd be there, made sure I'd win. His grip tightened. Made sure you'd come home to me, even if you hated me for it. Tears streamed down her face. I never hated you. You left me. To protect you. I know that now. He pulled her down, his forehead pressing against hers. I know everything now. And I'm so sorry. Sorry I couldn't save your father. Sorry I made you carry that alone. Sorry for every second you've suffered because of my family. It's not your fault. It is. And I'll spend the rest of my life making it right. His eyes closed. If you'll let me. The ambulance stopped at the hospital. They wheeled him inside, and this time they made Cecilia wait in the lobby. She sat for 3 hours. Martinez brought her coffee, took her statement, told her Victor was in custody and every piece of evidence had been secured. The Bratva was finished. The families were scattering. Nikolai would have to testify, but he'd have immunity. A fresh start. When they finally let her see him, dawn was breaking through the hospital windows. Nikolai lay in the bed, shoulder bandaged, color returning to his face. He smiled when she entered. Hey, he said softly. Hey. She sat beside him, taking his hand. I need to ask you something. His thumb rubbed circles on her palm. 3 years ago, I asked you to marry me. You said yes. Then you ran. And I never understood why. But now I do. So I'm asking again. Not because you owe me, not because of debt or contracts or any of that, but because I love you. Because I never stopped. Because you're the only thing that matters. He met her eyes. Cecilia Monroe, will you marry me? She looked at him. This man who'd bought her at an auction to save her, who'd risked everything to find the truth, who'd never stopped loving her even when he had every reason to hate her. Yes, she whispered. Yes, I'll marry you. He pulled her down and kissed her. Soft, sweet, real. Outside, the sun rose over New York. Inside, 2 people who'd lost everything found each other again. 3 years late. But finally home. If you made it to the end of Cecilia and Nikolai's story, drop an emoji in the comments. This love survived auctions, lies, murder, and the Russian Bratva. Hit that subscribe button for more dangerous love stories that'll destroy you emotionally. And smash that like button if you believe some love stories are worth the wait, even when the wait almost kills you.